The fluorescent lights flickered above me as I sat at my desk, the hum of the office around me blending into a dull background noise. I was surrounded by a sea of cubicles, each housing an array of focused faces glued to their screens. But my mind was elsewhere, tangled in a web of anticipation. Today was the day of my promotion review, and the weight of it pressed heavily on my chest. As a marketing executive, I had worked tirelessly to prove my worth. My heart raced with both excitement and anxiety. "Sarah!" Lily's voice cut through my thoughts, pulling me back to reality. She leaned over the partition, her dark curls bouncing with her movement. "Have you thought about what you'll say in the meeting?" I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I don't know, Lil. What if they decide to go with someone else? What if all this hard work is for nothing?" Lily rolled her eyes, a playful smirk on her face. "Please, you're the best in the department. Just remember to highlight those successful campaigns you led last quarter. You know you've earned this." "Yeah, but David is so charismatic. He can charm anyone into believing they're the best," I replied, biting my lip. David, my boss, was a force of nature. His confidence was intoxicating and intimidating all at once. I had always admired him, but today I felt a ripple of unease as I thought of our upcoming meeting. "Just be yourself. You've got this," she encouraged, her eyes sparkling with optimism. I nodded, but my heart still raced with uncertainty. A few hours later, the moment I had been dreading and anticipating arrived. David's office door was slightly ajar, and I took a deep breath before stepping inside. The room was immaculately organized, the scent of expensive cologne lingering in the air. David sat behind his polished mahogany desk, his blue eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that made my stomach twist. "Sarah, come in. I've been looking forward to this," he said, gesturing for me to take a seat. I sat down, feeling small in the grand, luxurious space. "Thank you for seeing me, David. I really appreciate the opportunity," I began, trying to maintain my composure. His smile was warm, yet predatory, as he leaned forward, resting his elbows on the desk. "You've done exceptional work, Sarah. Your campaigns have brought in impressive results. I believe you're ready for the next step in your career." My pulse quickened at his praise. "Thank you. That means a lot coming from you." He paused, studying my face, and I could sense the shift in the atmosphere. "However, there's something I want to discuss before we finalize the promotion." His tone turned serious, and I felt a chill creep down my spine. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "There's a catch," he said, leaning back in his chair, his gaze unwavering. "I'd like you to become my mistress, in exchange for the promotion, of course." My heart plummeted. "What?" I stammered, the words barely forming as shock coursed through me. "David, I can't." "It's a mutually beneficial arrangement. You'll have power, influence, and all the perks that come with being at the top. Think about your career, Sarah." His tone was smooth, persuasive, and I felt myself teetering on the edge of a precipice. "I'm married," I replied, my voice firm, though doubt crept in. Tom was my rock, my anchor in this turbulent sea of ambition. "Does that really matter? You'll have everything you've ever wanted. Just imagine what you could achieve," he pressed, a glint of something dangerous in his eyes. I looked away, unable to meet his gaze. The room felt smaller, the walls closing in as I wrestled with the gravity of the situation. My career was important, but at what cost? The thought of betraying Tom gnawed at me, filling me with guilt. "Take your time to think about it," David said, his voice low and smooth, wrapping around me like a silk ribbon. "I'll be waiting." As I left his office, my mind raced. I felt like I was walking through a fog, each step heavier than the last. The temptation hung like a cloud over me, and I knew I had to confront it. I returned home that evening, Tom's warm smile greeting me at the door. He was excited, talking about our future plans, the dreams we had woven together. "Hey, how did it go?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with hope. "It was interesting," I replied, forcing a smile as I felt the weight of my secret pressing down on me. Guilt twisted in my gut, and I struggled to keep the truth at bay as I looked into Tom's trusting eyes. I sat across from Lily in our favorite cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee wafting through the air, a stark contrast to the tumult churning inside me. The soft chatter of other patrons faded into the background as I tried to find the right words. I could feel the weight of my decision pressing down on my chest, a mix of fear and excitement that I couldn't shake. "Sarah, you know I'm only telling you this because I care, right?" Lily's voice cut through my thoughts, her brow furrowed with concern. "This promotion, it sounds too good to be true, especially with the conditions David laid out." I took a deep breath, feeling the heat rise in my cheeks. "I know, but it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Lily. I've worked so hard for this. What if I could actually make it work? I mean, it would be temporary, right? Just until I secure my position." Her eyes widened, and she shook her head. "You're not listening to yourself. Mixing business with pleasure is a slippery slope. You're talking about your career and your marriage here. What happens if it gets messy?" I looked down at my untouched coffee, swirling the cream with my spoon. "I've been thinking about that. I don't want to hurt Tom, but David, he believes in me. He sees potential in a way I haven't experienced before. It's intoxicating." "Intoxicating or dangerous?" she countered, her voice rising slightly. "You can't ignore the reality of it. You're playing with fire, and the risk is your entire life." I sighed, frustration bubbling up. "And what if I don't take the chance? What if I let this opportunity slip away? I'll always wonder what could have been." Lily leaned in closer, her expression softening. "But at what cost, Sarah? You have a good marriage with Tom. He loves you. You can't just throw that away for a job." "Maybe I'm not throwing it away. Maybe I'm just exploring my options," I replied defensively, though a part of me knew I was grasping at straws. She looked at me, her gaze piercing. "You need to be honest with yourself. Are you really willing to risk everything for this?" The question hung in the air like a cloud, heavy and ominous. I was silent, lost in thought. The cafe noise faded once again, and all I could hear was the thudding of my heart as I replayed David's proposition in my mind. After a sleepless night spent tossing and turning, I found myself standing outside David's office the next morning, my pulse racing. Every nerve in my body screamed at me to turn around, to walk away from this madness. But I couldn't. I needed to know what it felt like to be desired, to be powerful, to seize control of my destiny. When I finally stepped inside, David was leaning against his desk, a casual smirk playing on his lips. "You look like you've been thinking hard, Sarah. I like that." I swallowed hard, my heart pounding. I've made my decision." His expression shifted slightly, curiosity sparkling in his eyes. "Oh, I'm eager to hear it." "I accept your proposition," I said, forcing the words out, my voice barely above a whisper. A slow smile spread across his face, and before I could process what was happening, he stepped forward, closing the distance between us. He cupped my face in his hands, and in that moment of weakness, I felt a rush of excitement and fear intertwine. "Good," he murmured, leaning in closer. Our lips met in a passionate kiss that sent shockwaves through me. It was exhilarating and terrifying, a collision of everything I had ever wanted and everything I had to lose. As we pulled away, I felt breathless, caught between the thrill of the moment and the gravity of my choice. This This is going to complicate things, I said, struggling to catch my breath. Complicated is sometimes exactly what we need, David replied, his voice low and enticing. Later that evening, when I returned home, Tom greeted me with a warm smile that felt like a knife twisting in my gut. The aroma of a home-cooked meal wafted through the air, a stark reminder of the life I was about to jeopardize. "Hey you, how was your day?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with love and excitement. "Just the usual," I replied, forcing a smile as I set my bag down. "How about you?" "I've been planning a surprise dinner for us. I thought we could celebrate your promotion." My heart sank as I watched him bustle around the kitchen, completely unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I wanted to scream, to confess everything, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, I feigned normalcy, my laughter hollow, my heart heavy with the weight of my choices. "Sounds amazing, Tom. You're the best," I said, forcing the words out while my mind raced with the reality of what I had done and what I was about to lose. The internal conflict roared, a brewing storm set to unravel the life I cherished. As the weeks rolled by, I found myself caught in a tangled web of my own making. Every morning, I would wake up beside Tom, his warmth a sharp reminder of what I could lose. I would lie there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of our life together. The coffee pot gurgled in the kitchen, and I could hear the rustle of Tom's newspaper as he settled into his morning routine. Yet, inside, I felt a storm brewing, an internal chaos that threatened to unravel everything. "Hey, Sarah, you ready for work?" Tom called from the kitchen, his voice bright and cheerful. "Almost," I shouted back, forcing a smile that I hoped didn't betray my turmoil. I threw on a blouse and skirt, glancing in the mirror to check for any signs of my double life. My reflection stared back at me, a facade of normalcy, but I could see the cracks starting to form. At the office, I had become adept at balancing my roles as devoted wife and David's secret lover. I learned to slip into the persona that each role demanded, but I could feel the weight of deception growing heavier with every passing day. David was charming and magnetic, and there were moments when the thrill of our affair eclipsed my guilt. But then, like a dark cloud, my conscience would settle in, reminding me of the vows I had made to Tom. One afternoon, as I was reviewing a marketing proposal, David leaned over my desk, his breath warm against my ear. "You're incredible, Sarah. I don't know what I would do without you." I looked up, my heart racing, a mixture of exhilaration and dread coursing through me. "We need to be careful, David. This can't go on forever." He chuckled softly, his eyes glinting with mischief. "Why not? We're good together. You and I, we can have it all." His words sent a shiver down my spine, igniting a flicker of desire that I tried to extinguish. "I have a husband, David. I can't just..." "Just what? Embrace what we both feel?" He interrupted, leaning closer. "You know you want this. You can have your career and me. Just think about it." I pulled away, shaking my head, but the temptation lingered like a sweet poison. The thrill of our stolen moments was intoxicating, but I could feel Tom's gaze on me, always watching, always questioning. "Sarah, you've been acting strange lately," Tom said one evening, his brow furrowed with concern. We were preparing dinner, and the tension hung thick in the air. "Is everything okay at work?" "Of course," I replied, trying to sound convincing. "Just a busy season, you know how it is." He studied me, and I could see the worry etched in his features. "You know you can talk to me about anything, right? I hate to see you stressed." "I'm fine, really," I insisted, but the lie felt heavy on my tongue. The more I insisted I was fine, the more I felt like I was unraveling. Days turned into weeks, and I found myself spiraling deeper into my secret life. David's attention was intoxicating, and despite the guilt gnawing at me, I craved his validation. But every time I returned home to Tom, I felt a part of me chip away, like glass breaking piece by piece. Then, on an ordinary Wednesday afternoon, everything changed. I was in the office kitchen, pouring myself a cup of coffee, when I heard voices down the hall. David was in his office with a colleague, and I caught snippets of their conversation. "Have you seen how close Sarah and David are?" the colleague said, their tone light but tinged with curiosity. "Yeah, I've noticed. It's a little odd, don't you think?" My heart raced as I strained to hear more, panic rising within me. I quickly turned and retreated to my desk, my mind racing. What if someone suspected? What if they told Tom? My thoughts were spiraling when David appeared at my side, a devilish grin on his face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I forced a laugh, masking my anxiety. "Just a lot on my mind." He leaned in closer, his voice low. "Don't worry, I've got your back. No one will find out about us. Just keep playing your part." The way he said it sent chills down my spine. It felt like a threat disguised as reassurance. As I glanced around the office, I couldn't shake the feeling that my world was teetering on the edge, ready to collapse at any moment. The stakes were higher than I had ever imagined, and I was trapped in a game I no longer wanted to play. The fluorescent lights buzzed softly over my desk, illuminating the scattered reports and marketing strategies that felt increasingly irrelevant. I rubbed my temples, feeling the weight of my dual life pressing down. Just a few weeks ago, I was an ambitious executive with dreams of climbing the corporate ladder. Now, I was tangled in a web of deceit, balancing a marriage with Tom and an affair with David. The contrast felt surreal, like living in parallel worlds that were beginning to bleed into one another. As I gathered my things to leave for the day, my heart raced when I spotted Mark, the colleague who had witnessed David and me together. He leaned casually against the break room door, a smirk playing on his lips as he caught my eye. My stomach flipped. What if he said something to Tom? I couldn't let that happen. I approached him cautiously, forcing a smile. "Hey, Mark, busy day?" I asked, trying to sound nonchalant. "Just wrapping up some reports." "You know how it is," he replied, his eyes glinting with unspoken knowledge. "I saw you and David earlier. Quite the dynamic duo, aren't you?" I felt my face heat up, a flush of panic coursing through me. "We're just working on a project together. You know how it is." "Right," he said, his tone dripping with skepticism. "Just be careful, Sarah. You know how office gossip can spread." I swallowed hard, feeling exposed. Thanks for the advice, Mark. As I left the office that evening, the shadows of my guilt loomed larger than ever. The drive home felt like an eternity. What would I say to Tom? How could I explain the distance that had crept into our marriage? My thoughts were interrupted by a text from David. "Can't wait to see you tonight. I have something special planned." My heart raced, but not with excitement. It was fear mixed with a thrill I couldn't quite shake. When I finally walked through the front door, the familiar scent of Tom's cooking enveloped me. He had prepared my favorite dish, and the table was set with candles flickering softly, casting warm shadows around the room. His face lit up upon seeing me, a smile breaking across his features. "Hey, you're just in time. Dinner is ready," he said, wrapping his arms around me in a warm embrace. I inhaled his comforting scent, but guilt knotted in my stomach. "It looks amazing, Tom. You didn't have to go through all this trouble," I said, forcing a smile despite the turmoil inside me. "I wanted to. We haven't had much time together lately. Just the two of us," he replied, his eyes searching mine for sincerity. We sat down to eat, and I tried to focus on the conversation, but my mind drifted back to David, to the thrill of our secret meetings. Tom was talking about a promotion at his job, and as he animatedly shared his excitement, I felt a pang of deep guilt. I wanted to be the wife he deserved, but the shadow of my betrayal loomed large. "Sarah, are you even listening?" Tom's voice cut through my thoughts, and I looked up to find him staring at me, concern etched on his face. "Of course I am. I'm just a little tired from work," I stammered, hoping he wouldn't press further. "Is everything okay? You've seemed off lately." His brow furrowed, and I could see the worry in his eyes. "I'm fine, really. Just busy," I insisted, deflecting his probing gaze. But the truth was far more complicated. As we finished dinner, I could feel the distance between us growing, a chasm that my lies were widening. I excused myself to the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face in an attempt to wash away the guilt. I stared at my reflection, searching for the woman I used to be, the one who believed in love, honesty, and loyalty. When I returned to the dining room, Tom was clearing the table. The tension hung heavily in the air, and I felt like I was on the verge of suffocating. I had to tell him something. Anything. But what could I say? "Tom," I started, my voice trembling slightly. Before I could finish, the doorbell rang, breaking the moment. My heart raced as I glanced at the clock. It was too late for visitors. Tom went to answer it, and I felt a rush of panic. What if it was Mark? What if he had come to spill my secret? "Sarah, it's for you," Tom called out, his tone puzzled. I stepped cautiously toward the door, my heart pounding. Standing there was Lily, my best friend, looking frantic. "Lily, what are you doing here?" I asked, trying to mask my alarm. "I need to talk to you. It's important," she said, glancing nervously at Tom behind me. "Can it wait?" I whispered urgently, my mind racing. "No, it can't. Please." Her eyes were wide, filled with urgency. I nodded, leading her away from the door and into the living room, where I could feel Tom's puzzled gaze burning into my back. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice low. "I've heard some things, Sarah. About you and David," she said, her tone grave. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "I don't want to panic you, but Mark has been talking. He hinted to Tom that something might be going on. You need to be careful," she warned. In that moment, I felt the walls closing in. My double life was unraveling, and I was left standing on the precipice of disaster. I glanced back at Tom, who was still lingering at the door, a frown etched on his face. I was trapped between my past and my present, and the truth was about to come crashing down. I sat at my desk, staring blankly at the computer screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. The office was unusually quiet, the hum of fluorescent lights the only sound punctuating the stillness. It was a stark contrast to the chaos swirling in my mind. David's words echoed relentlessly. "You know what you need to do, Sarah. Don't make this harder than it has to be." I took a deep breath, willing myself to focus on the marketing campaign I had been working on for weeks. But how could I concentrate when my world was unraveling? My phone buzzed, breaking the tension. It was a message from David. "We need to talk. Now." My heart raced as I glanced around the office. I was acutely aware of the prying eyes of my colleagues. What if they knew? What if Tom found out? I quickly typed a response. "Can it wait?" But I knew it wouldn't. When I entered David's office, he was leaning against his desk, arms crossed, a predatory glint in his eyes. "You're avoiding me, Sarah," he said, his voice smooth yet laced with authority. "You can't keep pretending this isn't happening." "I'm not avoiding anything," I replied, forcing a confident tone despite the tremor in my hands. "I just need time to think." "Time?" He pushed off the desk and took a step closer, invading my space. "You think you can just walk away from this? I'll make it very difficult for you if you don't comply." You know I have the power to ruin your career. Do you really want that?" I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his threat settle like a stone in my stomach. "David, Don't you dare pretend you don't want this," he interjected, his tone sharp. "You crave the success I can give you, and I'm giving you a choice. But if you refuse—" He paused, letting the implication hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. "I need to think about Tom," I finally managed to say, my voice barely above a whisper. "Tom?" His laughter was cold and mocking. "What about him? You think he can provide you with the life I can? The opportunities? You're wasting your potential by being tied to him." I felt a surge of anger at his arrogance. "Tom loves me, David. He supports my ambitions." "And yet here you are," he said, gesturing dismissively. "Caught in a web of mediocrity. You could have so much more." I turned away, fighting back tears. I was trapped in a nightmare of my own making. "You're wrong," I said, my voice steadier now. "I won't let you manipulate me." He stepped closer, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Then you leave me no choice. If you don't play along, I will expose everything. Your husband will know. Your career will be over." The threat hung in the air like a noose tightening around my neck. I felt the walls closing in. My heart raced as I left his office, a storm of conflicting emotions raging within me. I wanted to scream, to run away from it all, but I couldn't. Later that evening, I returned home to find Tom in the kitchen, stirring a pot of pasta. The aroma wafted through the air, and for a moment, I felt a flicker of normalcy. "Hey, how was your day?" he asked, flashing me a warm smile. "Oh, the usual," I replied, forcing a smile that felt like a mask. As we sat down to dinner, I felt a growing tension between us. Tom was asking about work, about my projects, and I could barely manage to respond. The weight of my secret pressed down on me, making it difficult to breathe. "Sarah, is everything okay?" he asked, concern etching his features. "You seem distant." I shook my head, trying to dismiss his worries. "It's just work stress. I'll be fine." But I could see the doubt in his eyes, and it made my heart ache. I wanted to tell him everything, to confess the darkness that had seeped into my life. But how could I shatter his world, knowing it would crush him? As I lay in bed that night, I stared at the ceiling, my thoughts racing. My phone buzzed again, this time with a message from Tom. "I love you, Sarah. Just remember that." I squeezed my eyes shut, tears spilling down my cheeks. I was standing at a precipice, and I didn't know how to turn back. The next day, I knew I would have to confront David again, and the thought filled me with dread. Would I have the strength to resist him? Or would I succumb to the darkness that promised so much, yet threatened to destroy everything I held dear? The office was unusually quiet as I paced around, my heart racing with anticipation and dread. Tom had just confronted Lily, and I could feel the tension crackling in the air like electricity. My mind was a whirlwind. Every scenario I envisioned was worse than the last. I hadn't thought Tom would go to her, but now that he had, I felt exposed, like a moth pinned under a glass. I glanced at my phone, willing it to remain silent. I knew Tom was searching for answers, and the last thing I wanted was to be caught in a web of lies that was growing tighter by the day. Just then, the office door swung open, and I turned to see Tom standing there, his face a mixture of anger and betrayal. "Sarah," he said, his voice low and controlled, but I could hear the tremor beneath the surface. "We need to talk." "Tom, please," I started, but he raised a hand to stop me. "Did you think I wouldn't find out?" His words cut through me like a knife. "Lily told me everything. About you and David. My breath caught in my throat. I felt the blood drain from my face. It's not what you think, I swear. Not what I think, he interrupted, his eyes blazing with hurt. You're having an affair, Sarah. How could you do this to me? Each word felt like a punch to my gut. I had wanted to protect him from the truth, but now it was too late. I never meant for it to happen. It spiraled out of control. Spiraled out of control? He echoed incredulously. That's your excuse? You're a smart woman. You could have stopped it. I thought I could manage it, Tom, I pleaded, feeling desperate. I thought I could keep you both separate. I didn't want to hurt you. He shook his head, his expression shifting from anger to profound sadness. You didn't just hurt me, Sarah. You betrayed me. You betrayed our marriage. I could feel tears prickling at the corners of my eyes, but I fought them back. I'm so sorry. I love you. I didn't want this to happen. David. He has a way of making you feel like you're on top of the world. I got lost in it. Lost, or did you choose it? Tom's voice was now strained, and I could see the conflict raging inside him. What about our life? Our dreams? Before I could answer, the door swung open again, this time revealing David, his presence commanding and unsettling. What's going on here? He asked, his voice smooth as silk, but with an undercurrent of menace. Stay out of this, David, Tom snapped, turning to face him. This is between me and my wife. David stepped forward, a smirk playing at the corners of his mouth. But it seems I'm already involved, Tom. You see, Sarah is my responsibility now, and I think you're misunderstanding the situation. What do you mean? Tom's voice was low, a dangerous calm settling over him. Sarah didn't just fall into my arms, David replied, his tone almost patronizing. She made a choice, and it was a choice that came with certain expectations. My heart sank as the realization of what he was implying washed over me. David, don't, I cried, but it was too late. Let's not pretend this is a fairy tale, Sarah. You wanted the promotion and I wanted your loyalty. You knew the stakes, David continued, his eyes glinting with a mix of satisfaction and malice. Loyalty? Tom spat, disbelief etched across his features. You manipulated her, David. You used her ambition against her. You're nothing but a monster. David shrugged, unfazed. I'm a businessman, Tom. In this world, everyone makes sacrifices. Some just happen to be more personal than others. Get out, Tom said, his voice shaking with fury. Just get out of our lives. David chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. Oh, but I'm not going anywhere. Not yet. You see this little triangle we've found ourselves in? It has only just begun. As David turned and walked out, I felt a chill settle in the room. I was left standing there, caught between two men, one who had seduced me with power and promises, and another who thought he knew me so well. My heart raced as I realized the depths of betrayal I had plunged into and the darkness that loomed ahead. I had to make a choice, but as I looked into Tom's eyes, I feared I had already lost everything.